I did something despicable. I did something that most people might call me dirty for. I don't care. I'll tell you what I did, and then I'll explain to you why. Here it is. I cheated on my husband of 14 years, and I feel great.
I think I cheated on my husband. How can I stop this? I'm posting one here because I don't have anyone in my life whom I can trust. If I tell my friends, they will tell either my husband or their friend, and I'm even risking him catching me by posting on a public platform. But he has no idea about what happened and I changed names. I highly doubt he would ever find this, but anyways, all I need is some advice because I don't know what to do. The guilt is killing me. I feel like I'm a bad wife and I'm scared of my husband finding out. I'm married. How could I let something like this happen? I must confess to someone that I've cheated on my husband. Nothing too big happened, but I think that it qualifies as cheating. But what is worse is that I want to see the man I cheated with again. He asked me to meet him this weekend and I could have easily give my husband an excuse and I can go. But I feel bad. How can I cheat on my husband of 14 years? I know you do not have to tell me that I'm a bad person. I've never had any feelings for anyone other than Ian. I met Ian when I was in 9th grade and he was in the 10th grade. I was very shy while he was more extroverted. I was getting bullied by some girls in my class. He defended me and made sure that everybody knew not to touch me. When those girls tried to bully me again, they found their bicycle wheels had disappeared. He was feared in our grade because he was training in some sort of mixed martial art. He started walking me home, which was when I discovered the sweet side of him. He lived with his mother and helped her with everything. He was the kind of person to help old ladies cross the street. When he asked me to be his girlfriend, I could not believe my luck. The other girls told me that he was going to leave me for someone prettier, but hey, he never left me. After high school, we went to the same college, graduated, and then got married and had our first kid. Our marriage was perfect. I can never imagine anyone else other than him, and the way that I loved him, I love him more than myself. We have a lot of sacrifices for each other. We've been down and out together. Our connection is such that I can tell what he's thinking without him knowing. Many of my friends and relatives envy me because I have the perfect husband who's a good father. They would all think that I'm mad for cheating on him. They'll all stop talking to me and they'll support him if he decides to leave. That's because they see no wrong in him. He is a good man. They don't see the monster that's behind the doors. Wow. He started abusing me when we were in high school still. He would slap me when I didn't listen. Those were small bruises that I would cover up with makeup. I never dared to tell anybody what he did because I was afraid of what he would do. He was also my only protection. If I did not have him by my side, then people were going to bully me. I was nothing without him and he took care of me. He was only one that cared about me, to be honest. My parents were too focused on my 3 brothers. They never showed up when I won school awards or nothing. But he did. The abuse got worse in our 2nd year of marriage. I was already used to him having outbursts and breaking things. He always made sure to hurt me when nobody else would see. He would buy me a new necklace or take me out for dinner afterward, and it was normal to me. I never thought that there was anything wrong with our relationship. I figured that every relationship was just like this. In our 2nd year of being married, our son was about to be a year old. I was always tired. He was still breastfeeding and he was always awake. I stayed at home and cleaned and took care of our child because he did not want me to work. He did not want anyone to look at me. When I complained about loneliness, he went and found friends for me. The wives of his friends, of course. I hated them. They were shallow and they all cared about what was spending their husband's money. I could never confide in them because when we fought, I was the one who had to apologize. One time I made the mistake of telling one of the ladies, Sophie, about what was happening. He had come home drunk, very angry, and impossible, so I locked him out of our room while I slept in our room with our son. When I woke up in the morning, he refused to speak to me. He did not punish or apologize or anything, so I confided in Sophie because I was a bit upset. That night, he came home and beat me within an inch of my life. Everything from my legs, ribs, my face was bruised and cut. It was the worst pain imaginable. The look in his eyes was one of utter coldness. He told me never to call him a drunken again and make his friends laugh at him. I could go on recounting every single incident, and I remember each one in detail, but that would be a full-length novel. I've been in a very abusive marriage for 14 years, and I've not told anyone. I've told no one but Theo. I've started volunteering for a school committee over the past few months. My husband approved, and he rarely approves, and he's been busy with work and barely talks to me these past months. Luckily, these past months, though, have been the least abusive. Theo is the father of my son's friend. We've become friends over the past couple of months, and we talk for less than 30 minutes a day, at most, but he understands me. He values my opinions, he does not raise his voice, he has told me about how life without his late wife has been, and I've explained to him where each of my scars come from. I've fallen in love with Theo. He knows I'm married, but he doesn't care. He just wants me to be happy. 2 days ago, Theo kissed me out of the blue. I did not kiss him back. I decided to pull away. But the kiss ignited something within me. I felt true peace for the first time ever. Every time I close my eyes, I see him. I see the love in his eyes, and I'm gutted. I'm married. I've committed a big sin, and when my husband finds out, he'll probably kill me. But Theo will not leave me alone. He's texted me every time I open the archived chat, and I see his message, but I don't respond. My husband's away this week. He'll come back next week, and Theo knows that, so he's invited me to his cabin out of town, in a very remote area. I could leave my son with my mother. She'll cover for me. He says he just wants to see me, even if it's the last time. Well, then we can go back to the strangers. I don't want to lie. I want to see him again. Why do I feel this way? I need to find a way to get rid of these feelings. My husband might be a monster, but he does not deserve to be cheated on, does he? I fear what he'll do to me when he finds out, and then there's Theo. Would I be crazy to try to explore what's between us? Or maybe I should go and see him one last time, quit the committee, and never think about him again. What should I do? Update. A couple months later. I want to start off by saying that I'm sorry. I could not do it. I could not control myself and prevent myself from seeing him. After reading the comments, I've decided to block him and never think about him again. This was a few days before the day he told me to meet him, but he was always on my mind, and I kept thinking of all the things that we've never spoken about. I felt like a person, not a tool or an object like Ian makes me feel. I was angered by the fact that if I had just said no at the altar 14 years ago, then I would not be in this mess. Maybe I would have met Theo earlier, and I would not have a single scar on my body. I made arrangements with my mother for her to care for my son, and then I went to see Theo. That weekend was not the end. I saw myself seeing him again and again and again. In the end, I could not go long without seeing him. I became so good at lying to my husband, and the fool believed it. When he got angry and took his anger out on me, Theo would comfort me afterward. The pain that Ian inflicted on me was nothing compared to the love that Theo had for me. But one thing was clear. I was not going to leave Ian. I know him, and he would never let me walk out alive. When he said till death do us part, he meant it. But Theo wanted to see me too often. He called me when I told him not to call, and one time he came to my house. I tried to tell him that he must stop, but he did not. Every moment he was worried about me, and he really hated my husband. But I did not worry. I knew he would never do anything drastic because Theo is a pretty peaceful person. But I had a serious talk with him and explained what would happen if we got caught. He said sorry for how he had been. He could no longer handle seeing me in pain. So then he said that he had a plan for us to run away. He had connections in a different city. I just had to make sure that I had all the evidence of the abuse when I testified against my husband. Then we would get custody of my son and be rid of him. He told me to give him 1 month and everything would be set up. I was ecstatic and 100% sure that his plan was going to work. I was not a fan of leaving my son for a while, but it had to be done. Ian would never hurt his son. He loves his son more than me and has never attacked me in front of him. As far as Thomas knows, his dad and I are very happy. I was counting down the days till we got to leave when my husband sent me a photo. The caption was, "If you tell anybody about this, I'll make sure that you're left with nothing or in such a condition that you'll never be able to speak again." Attached was a picture of Theo, and he was badly beaten up. All I could see was blood, and his limbs were the most awkward angle. I sent my husband many messages, but he has not responded, nor has he come home. It's just been me and Thomas for the past few days, and I don't know what to do. I can't eat, I can't sleep, I don't know if Theo's alive or not, and I'm dreading seeing Ian. Surely this time I would not survive, and if I do not update, know that something happened to me. I just hope my son will be well taken care of. Update. 1 week later. I'm still alive. Thank goodness for that. He did not hurt me, at least not physically. No, he has me backed into a corner that I cannot escape from. If I do not do what he wants me to do, he's going to expose me to the whole world. He has a proof of the affair, and most of it is very graphic. If it comes out, my family will disown me, and I would not be able to find a job. My whole life will be ruined, and I honestly have no one at this point. Theo left town as soon as he recovered, and I found out through my son, who came home a few days ago looking very sad. When I asked him what happened, he told me his friend had transferred. I can only assume that he got scared. If he stayed and Ian exposed us to the public, he was going to lose everything. I don't blame him for leaving. After all, he has a child who still needs him. I just wish I got a chance to say goodbye to him and say sorry. But let me take you back to where I last left off. When Ian came back home, he was very calm. Calm down. I will not hurt you. That's what he said when I grabbed a kitchen knife. I had been keeping it just in case he tried to attack. I was tired of everything that he's gone on too far, and he said he just wanted to talk, then proceeded to gloat about how he always knew I was a woman with no morals. He also told me that he had known about the affair, and even the plan to leave. He waited till we got comfortable, and then he struck. But there's one more thing that bothered me. That man does not earn that much money, and you don't have a cent to your name, so how were you going to survive? Then I found out that dearest Thomas did get some money from his grandfather after all. Not the $500 you lied to me about. He smiled wickedly. He looked so proud of himself, like a cat that was trapping a mouse, backing into an alley before it attacked. There's nothing that he got. $3 million is what he left him, and you're the one who put as the trustee until he turns 18. He smiled. I lost all feeling in my body, and it got cold, and I was dizzy for a moment. I wanted to scream and launch at him while he kept on laughing. I could not control myself as I flew across the room and buried the knife into his open palm. He cursed and pushed me back, and I landed on the floor with a thud. You witch! He screamed at me before he left. I got up and heard him running some water in the kitchen. I did not think, so I took my phone and was out in the front door within minutes. I got into my car and I drove. I did not think that I would have done this too soon, but there was nothing that I could do. I drove to my mother's house, and it was only when she saw me and exclaimed, "Your head is bleeding," that the pain set in. My mother helped to sort out my bleeding head, ran a bath for me, then told me to have some rest. I was already rehearsing everything that I was going to say to her when I woke up. She knew I was unhappy in my marriage, but had no idea how bad it was. I had downplayed everything to emotional abuse and feeling trapped. The plan was for me to leave when Thomas turned 18 and got access to his trust. I was going to tell him everything about his father and then divorce him. We would use Thomas's money to survive and send him to school while I sorted out our life. And I have a degree, so not a lot of experience thanks to the man who banned me from working. I was probably never going to get a job in the city because most of the influential people are his friends. Maybe I was going to expose him, ruin his reputation, and have everybody on my side, but that was a bit ambitious. That was the plan till Theo came along and ruined the plan by making me fall in love. For a while, I thought that there was a way out with him, and that there was love out there, but now that I've lost both my love and freedom, I can only bitterly laugh. If I do not laugh, then I'll cry. But my tears have run dry. I woke up to my phone ringing. I opened it up to find a picture of myself and Theo. I was very exposed in the picture, and yes, it looked really bad. A text followed. Come home. Talk to me, or the whole world will know what kind of woman you are. My mom was still sleeping when I drove back home. He made me sit down as he explained to me what was going on. We were going to remain married till our 15th wedding anniversary. I was going to sign over my son's inheritance to him. After our divorce, I was to leave him and my son alone. He would allow me to keep my dignity. Well, I was horrified by his request. It was all a win-win for him and not for me. Even if I was going to be rid of him, he was going to be hanging over my life forever. And my son? I could not let my son be raised by that monster. I can't imagine him growing up to be like his father and raising a hand to a woman. I told him that, and he said,
"Oh, so you want him to be a dirty cheater like you?"
I know what I did was wrong, but there's no way it's equal to the years of abuse, and it should not mean that I must be separated from my son. He's given me a couple days to think about this. Update number 2. 2 weeks later. Life has been a storm. In case you've been wondering where I'm at, I could not do it. I could not give up my son, so I spent days in the guest room. Unable to eat, unable to sleep, and he brought his friends to my house and they had parties while I was stressing about my future. I only left the room when Thomas came back from school. He knew there was something wrong with me, but I could not tell him the truth. I told him that I'm sick and that I needed some medicine, but Thomas kept on insisting that something was going on. The day before, I had to make a decision. He did not go to school. He refused to leave my room and told me that he was not leaving until I told him the truth. But what truth would I tell him? That his father was a monster and his mother a liar? I didn't want to carry all the hurt in the house into his future. I don't want him to become like his father one day. So I protected him all my life. You show signs of being abused, Mom. Wait, what are you talking about? You always wear makeup. Dad buys you gifts after big fights. You're always walking into doors, and sometimes you flinch when people make sudden advances towards you. That's all a sign, Mom. Well, I gasped. I'd failed. He found out, somehow. I know about you and Theo, Mom. How? Well, this was going out of hand. Now he knew about the affair, and I started to cry and apologize to him. He just pulled me closer and hugged me, and I asked him to tell me everything that he knew. He said that he first noticed it when he was 10. He Googled to read about it and also noticed some stuff in movies, but then he knew that I was scared and I would not try to leave, and he heard me speaking to myself sometimes. He struggled to find the words to ask me what was going on and why Dad was hurting me. It got to the point where he felt it was too late and he should have spoken up. He found out about Theo a few days ago, and he overheard his dad telling a friend about it and also telling that friend that he was going to get the money from me and still expose me so that no other man would want to be with me.
I knew it. He was never going to keep his end of the bargain.
Anger, unlike any I've ever felt before, flushed through me. I could have ripped him apart with that anger, and I told my son that he had to go to school, which was the only way which he could help me. He listened, and without hesitation he went to school, but he made me promise that we were going to leave soon. I told him, yes, we were going to leave, and I mean it. Even if I had to crawl with broken limbs, I was going to leave. Well, he was going to delete those pictures and videos and let me go. So help me if he decided to try to stop me, because no longer was I going to subject to this. Once I was sure my son was gone, I went downstairs. Downstairs stunk to high heavens like a brewery, and he was lying in the middle of the floor, snoring, sounding like the pig that he was.
What the hell is wrong with you?
He woke up with a snarl and started when I poured cold water over him. I just laughed and dragged him to his feet. Do you want a headache pill with that? I smirked and he gave a dirty look and said,
I can just release those pictures, you know.
I made a decision. I'm taking my son and we're leaving. You're not getting a cent of his money.
If you leave, I'll expose you.
Being laughed at by the whole world's better than another moment standing here looking at you. It felt so good to say that. He looked like he was in disbelief when he saw, well, his face slowly turned purple with anger.
You will sign over the fortune to me.
He smiled a sly smile, a warning, and I turned on my heel and went to the door. He followed after me, chasing me, and I got into the car and was about to close the door when suddenly I was thrown into the back. He got into the car and started it.
Where are we going?
My voice was now shaking. Oh, we're going to have a very long drive. Well, you'll sign everything over to me and disappear. His voice gave me shivers. It felt no emotion. It was clinical. The voice that he used when he was making deals, and I knew it the day I've been dreading was here. He was going to do something to me, and my son would never know. My son would think that I abandoned him. I closed my eyes and begged anybody who was listening to help me. I never got to open my eyes until a few days later, for he had spud through the main road and collided with the truck. Somehow I was unharmed aside from a concussion. That is what the nurses are telling me, but I'm still trying to put everything together in my head. That's why I'm writing this, so I can retrace my steps. Update. Hey guys, this is going to be my final update. So, it's over. And the end has come, and I still can't quite believe it. He suffered internal bleeding in his brain and internal organs. He had to have about 2 surgeries back to back as the doctors battled to save his life. Since I was his next of kin, I was authorized of everything, and I told them to do everything they could to make sure he survived. For when he woke up, I was going to release hell on him. I was going to get revenge for all the pain that he put me through. While he was in the hospital, I destroyed every single copy of those files that I could find. And then I made my mother the trustee of my son's inheritance. Then I waited, and I waited. In the 3 months that I waited for him to come back, I healed. I had some cuts and concussions and broken ribs, but everything was fine. I went to the hospital every day and sat by him. He looked so innocent, like the man that I had once loved before he became a monster. I was told to talk to him while he was still in the coma, but I chose not to. For I did not have any kind words to say to him, and I wanted him to wake up. I had to tell his mother that this was what he had done to me. I had all the proof of the threats, the scars on my body, and Thomas's statement. As soon as he woke up, he was going to be arrested and we are going to get divorced. He was going to be left with no one. When his mom found out what he's done, she was horrified. I cannot fault her for anything. She's a good woman who thought that she raised her son well. She told me that it had been the same with his father. He had beaten her up and cheated on her, leaving her with a 7-year-old. She had tried her hardest to erase his memories and make sure that he grew up to be a good man. But he had always been a bit of a liar and had an anger issue. I never thought he would take it out on you like he did the other girls. The girls before me? How many times?
He stopped when you fell pregnant.
I don't know what to say. She knew that she could have warned me before things got that bad. At the time I was younger, I could have restarted and had a good life. That evening, I told the hospital that I wanted to sign over the rights to the medical decision to his mother. He was not waking up. He was having a hard time waking up, and I knew there was a chance that he would not wake up, and I would have to pull the plug. I wanted her to be the one to make the decision. Ian and I would meet in another life and settle the score, but I would never give him the satisfaction of making me feel guilty. That night, 3 months ago, was the very last time that I went to the hospital. She kept him alive on those machines, hoping that he would wake up for a long time, even though everybody told her there's no one left in there. She called me and texted me telling me to please come and talk to him, but I blocked her number. The months without him were the best months of my life. My son and I redecorated the house, I got a new job, and we spent more time with each other. The house was filled with laughter every second of every day. We lived in harmony for a long time, such that we forgot. Then the news came last week. His mother pulled the plug. Ian was no more. I did not attend his funeral, but few people did. I spoke out about everything for the first time in my life and showed all the proof. People were shocked but supportive, and they condemned him. At his funeral, very few people were there, as Thomas told me. I did not go, but I agreed for his grandmother to take him with me. I knew that he did not want to, but hey, that was his father. He needed to do it. Everything that was his is now mine, and life insurance paid out well. I'm going to invest the money and also make sure Thomas has a good education. I'm also sending Thomas for therapy. He needs to be healed from this. I don't want him to have unresolved trauma, and it would kill me if that generational curse carried on with him. He needs to die with his father. Also, guess who is alive and well? Theo. He had all this time to contact me, and he only does that now. He messaged me and asked to meet with me, and I'm still thinking about it. I'm not sure if I even want to be in another relationship ever again. If it's the last thing on my mind, my priority is my son and also healing. I've not responded to him, and I don't think I will, because I feel free right now. Even more free than when I was with him.
I would never want to personally wish bad ill intentions upon someone. But let's just say OP's husband might have had this coming. I mean, I don't know. I'm not Karma. I can't answer for her. But I want to know your thoughts, guys, because we know what happened to Ian towards the end of the story. So guys, go ahead, drop your comments down below. In my opinion, I think somebody that is abusive is just straight up despicable. And Karma came and answered him in the form of a car crash. Guys, once again, drop your thoughts down below. I want to know every single detail. And if you can relate to this story in some way, and you want to share your story, let's hear about it in the comment section. Go ahead, subscribe to the channel for daily videos. My name's Mr. Reddito, and I want to thank you for joining me. Have a fantastic day. I'll see you tomorrow. And just remember one thing. It's cool to be kind. See ya.